Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us, coming to you from Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. Of course, that's Security Gun Club right here in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, you know, I always say that those on the other side of the political spectrum, from those like us that cherish our inalienable rights, are vastly better at the labeling game. Take, for example, assault weapons. How about gun control? How about gun violence? How about high-capacity magazines? How about ghost guns? Yeah, the list goes on and on and on. They are absolutely kicking our ass in the labeling game. And now along comes yet another label, and it has a lot of people scratching their head going, what the hell is this? And does it actually pose a danger to anybody? So today, let's geek out for a little bit. Let's figure it all out together, and let's talk about what exactly are zombie guns, and are they even a threat? You watch the news, you read the headlines, and you know it for yourself. Your community is less safe than it was just a few years ago. So you decided to purchase your first firearm. But like everything else in your life, you wanted to do this lawfully and responsibly. So you trained and trained and trained. You learned the laws of self-defense and all the tactics necessary to protect yourself and your family. To this day, you continue to train, and you now live by the motto that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You are prepared for anything, or so you thought. Who are you going to call when it all hits the fan? Who's going to defend you for defending them? Who's going to stand in your corner when you realize that proof beyond a reasonable doubt means one thing in a high school civics class and something altogether different in the real world? Introducing Right to Bear, self-defense coverage that protects you so that you can protect them. With an attorney-answered hotline, you will always get a confidential conversation with your state's attorney. There are no cap limits for either criminal or civil defense. All forms of self-defense are covered, so from a fist to a firearm, you are protected. And you will have some of the nation's most passionate 2A attorneys defending you. And the peace of mind that you will have knowing that Right to Bear is in your corner, well, that's priceless. Listen, I've been in this industry long enough to know two things with absolute certainty. Good lawyers aren't cheap, and cheap lawyers aren't good. So visit my friends today at protectwithbear.com, and if you use the promo code WGL, you will receive 10% off. Listen, you need to protect yourself so that you can protect them. Visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com. Okay, so here's what we're talking about today. We are talking about the horrible scourge of gun violence that is being inflicted upon millions of innocent Americans nationwide because of zombie guns. That's right, I said zombie guns. What is a zombie gun? Well, you know, you always learn something new every day, and I learned something new today, and that's this. Is that after law enforcement agencies go out and waste your hard-earned tax dollars on gun buyback programs to buy back a bunch of old, non-functioning rifles and high-point handguns, what they often then do is they have to have them destroyed. Now, they don't have the time or the resources or the equipment necessary to actually do the destruction of the firearm, so they will hire private companies to do it. Now, you think about it, like, how much money could you actually make just buying guns from a police department who bought those guns from a gun buyback, and then you're just destroying them? Can't really see how you can build a profit margin into that at all, do you? No, but you could if you just destroyed the lower receiver, which actually is the firearm, and then parted the rest of the firearm out. And that's exactly what's been occurring, and law enforcement knows that that's been going on. So a handgun or a rifle that is being sent to be destroyed, yes, the lower receiver will in fact be destroyed. The remaining parts, the barrels, the triggers, or anything else that may be associated with that firearm itself, yeah, these companies will in fact part them out. Now, there's an old adage that oftentimes people come up with solutions that are still looking for a problem. And today we're going to talk about a piece of legislation which is currently being sponsored by Representative Jill Tokuda from Hawaii and Representative Maxwell Frost from Florida. Because the two of these Congress people have now found that there is obviously a horrific problem going on in our country due to these zombie guns. That's right. Guns which are being assembled from pieces which normally could just be purchased just about anywhere else. And these purchases of these pieces are occurring without background checks, which interestingly enough to both the representatives, when we're buying a barrel, when we're buying a trigger, when we're buying a new handguard, when we're buying a new stock or things like that, yeah, we're not required to go through background checks for those. But hey, listen, we need this legislation because this legislation is necessary to stop this horrible scourge of violence. As Representative Takuda was quoted as saying, Maxwell and I have both been absolutely horrified and alarmed by the growing influence of the private gun disposable companies and their role in fueling what is a secondary arms market in our country. We are literally seeing guns intended to be destroyed instead are being recycled and sold for profit. And that actually is not what's occurring here, but hey, don't let the facts get in the way of your legislation. The good representative also goes on to state, they're making profit by endangering the lives of everyday Americans, our citizens. These are untraceable pieces sold as parts of kits. They're being given out, sold, put together, and used without even the need for a simple background check. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is insane. So then, of course, what do we need? Well, we need a piece of legislation. That's right. And so these two very, very intelligent United States representatives, because we don't have other problems going on right now in the country and the world, have introduced the Destroy Zombie Gun Act. That's right. This act, if enacted into legislation, would mandate that all of these gun disposal companies must destroy the entire firearm. As Representative Takuda also stated, we cannot allow this mass proliferation of guns to continue to allow violent criminals and anyone who poses a threat to society in our community to continue to be walking around with an untraceable gun right here in our communities, in our schools, near our homes, near our children. It's really that simple. Without action, without passage of a bill like this, more bad actors would easily be able to do exactly that, procure a gun, and sadly to use it in ways that we have seen are absolutely destructive to communities, to families, and our loved ones. Now, of course, if this legislation were to pass, then the act of taking these bought-back firearms would lack any sense of profit whatsoever, and the companies would, of course, then quit doing business. And that would leave law enforcement, who actually wanted to conduct gun buybacks, with the unenviable position of having to dispose of all of these unwanted firearms and not having the time, resources, or equipment necessary to do so properly. What that ultimately would then lead to is a complete abolition of gun buyback programs altogether, which may not be a bad thing at all because there's absolutely not one iota of data that suggests they do anything to make your community safer. But to both of these representatives who had all the time in the world to come up with this piece of legislation, please understand that the parts that you're talking about can be purchased anywhere by anybody for just about any reason, because none of them standing alone constitute a firearm, and none of them standing alone ever will constitute a firearm. Listen, we'll go ahead and link up this fantastic piece of legislation down below so that you can geek out on it for yourself. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information's down there in the description box as well. And then finally, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation, how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.